It's FoosTalk Live.
You talking to me?
Compelling and lively banter.
Are you going to talk to us?
Talking foosball.
Foosball was how I measured my value as a man. You took that away.
Players and fans, promoters and pros. Unedited and raw.
Talk.
Living in the moment.
We have a lot of important things to talk about.
All while practicing social distancing.
Cool. We'll talk. No big whoop.
Let's get this thing started. FoosTalk Live. Coming to you live from the studios of Inside Foos, it's the 50th episode of FoosTalk Live. Brought to you in part by 518 Prints, one of the best printers of promotional items, t-shirts, jackets, hoodies, and foosball apparel. Visit 518prints.com today. Brought to you in part by Foosballers The Movie. Download your copy of this Joe Hessinger documentary at foosballersthemovie.com. FoosTalk Live also brought to you in part by Foosball Clubs USA, promoting foosball through school systems all over the country. Visit foosballclubsusa.com and make a donation today. And brought to you by the USTSO, Table Soccer Organization. Helping to usher in a new era of competitive foosball, become a member and register at usafoosball.com. Well, hey there, I'm Tom Robinson. Welcome back to FoosTalk Live. We're ready to spend another Sunday evening, even though it's Easter Sunday evening, talking about the beautiful game called foosball. Now, conversation is always a whole lot more interesting when you have someone to share it with. That's why I'm going to turn now to one of the greatest, if not the greatest, play-by-play foosball announcers in history, none other than Jim Stevens. Hello, Jim.
Well, it's nice to be at least considered in the top five or so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Happy Easter, everybody. Had a great time today with my family here in Durango. Beautiful day, about 75 degrees, if you can imagine that here in Durango, and just a wonderful day. And of course, FoosTalk Live also brought to you now by InsideFoos.com.
Yes. Oh, nice. Okay, my bad. I should have tossed that in there. Of course.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Do it as well. And you know, that's part of the news of this week is the launch of the new InsideFoos.com. I'm sure many of you, most of you, all of you, hopefully have seen the posts and seen all the information about the new website and some of the vision that we have moving forward. And of course, FoosTalk Live is a big part of that. Yeah, no, it's exciting. The kind of fervor. I've heard a lot of questions. I've also heard a lot of comments of people like, "Wow, this is cool." It's really extraordinary. And for those who have not sampled it yet, I'm kind of surprised you haven't. But it's all about some amazing access to content. So, Jim, as it stands right now, how much is available through the website, and what is it exactly that people can access? Well, of course, you can access right now more than 500 matches, commentated matches from the Inside Foos collection, with more being added every week. We've got original programming. In fact, this Tuesday, we've got one of our first shows debuting on the table with Chase Pennell.
Oh, cool.
Which Chase and his guest this week, Tony Spredeman, talking about a match that Tony played. And you watch the match and you get to hear what Tony's insights are. And that's going to premiere this Tuesday at InsideFoos.com. Oh, wow. But lots of content. We have a shop there. You can get shirts. You can get swag of all different kinds.
Swag?
There's a schedule of events and everything else. And so basically what it is it's hopefully a hub for anything foosball, moving forward. So, okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Is this our 50th? It is the 50th episode. Now, some people are confusing the 50th episode with the first anniversary, which, by the way, is next week. But this is the 50th. 50 times we have done our best to fly, well, shall we say, without a net. And speaking of 50, we've got with us now, about to join us, one of the top 50 amateur goalies of the 1990s, Mark Torres. Welcome in, buddy.
Time can never mend careless whispers of a good friend.
See, I knew we were going to
get the heart and mind.
To the heart and mind.
Ignorance is kind. I'm not going to go on because I don't want anyone crying on the show.
Well,
Tears of joy.
I knew we'd get serenaded for Easter. I just knew that would be the case, and we do appreciate that, by the way. So, Mark,
listen.
Before you go any further, I have a test for you, and this is something that I do on a regular basis with students. So, and for those who don't know, I teach voice acting. So, Mark, repeat after me. Listen carefully. The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue, the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips.
The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue, the tip of the tongue, the lips, the teeth.
Good. How about this one?
Okay.
You know New York. You need New York. You know you need unique New York.
You know New York. You need New York. You know you need unique New York. Stop playing with these games with me, bro. I'll smash you every time. Listen, InsideFoos.com is out, but check out the Kickstarter.
Yes.
The Kickstarter is wicked. People have not found the gems on the Kickstarter. There's incredible swag on the Kickstarter, and you can get a free subscription when you pledge to the Kickstarter. And let me make one more pitch on the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is the means by which the product we already have for you, which is amazing on the live stream, that product gets better because some of those funds go straight to new equipment, and we want to do amazing, brilliant things with equipment. We want to invest in stuff. We want to invest in innovation and technology. Go to the Kickstarter, pledge, get a free subscription. Boom. Win, 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 foosball.
I'm amazed. It's been only several days, and it looks like, wow, they're more than halfway there to the goal, which is terrific.
We're 50. I think we might be 57% to goal in 5 days. But more importantly than that, Kickstarter was so impressed. So what Kickstarter does, there are hundreds of thousands of projects in Kickstarter, and a very few percent, out of thousands and thousands, they give very few a identifier as a project we love, and that is based off the quality and your story and what you're impressing the community with. They saw our product. They saw our Kickstarter, and in 5 days, they identified it as a project we love. So we have that identifier now.
Cool.
It's a heart from Kickstarter, and we're going to start letting the world know that our story is compelling, and they love it, and you should too. Check out our Kickstarter.
No, it's,
Inside Foos Kickstarter.
It's really amazing stuff. I mean, this just in this week alone, there's been so much happening. And you know what? I think it deserves exactly what it deserves, a toast. What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA. And Jim, you lead the way, man. You tell me what have you there? What is in your palm?
Well, we talked about, Mark talked about new equipment, new streaming. Our first event that we're going to be returning, we're going to be coming back to the Pro Tour in about 4 weeks up in Portland, Oregon at the Moneyball event. We're going to have the promoters of that event on, Ciser and Kopiy came on tonight. So I've gone to the state of Oregon.
Nice.
The Deschutes Brewery, which is actually over the Cascades, over that coastal range in Central Oregon, in Bend, Oregon. It's the Deschutes Brewery. It's the fresh squeezed IPA.
Ooh.
It's solid. I know it's good. I'm going to have a sip right now just to prove it. Delicious. 6.4% IBU 60. It's got Citra and Mosaic hops, and it's delicious.
Something about that Oregon coast, right? Just brings out the best in it. That's awesome. Fantastic. Well, on this side of the country, I stuck around New York State once again. This time, we're talking about something very metaphysical. It's called Sparticle Physics from the Equilibrium Brewery in Middletown, New York. It's a 5.5% volume by alcohol by volume, and let's sample the Equilibrium Brewery best Sparticle Physics.
Wonder how long that equilibrium lasts.
Oh,
after a couple of those.
It's cold. It's juicy. It's wonderful. It's delectable. Yes, there it is from Equilibrium. Mark, for Easter, what are you having?
Well, I'm having a little relapse, guys, because I've been fasting 3 to 5 days and water. I have a LaCroix in front of me, passion fruit LaCroix.
Back to
Sparkling
LaCroix.
water. Yes, naturally essenced. 0 calories, 0 sweetener, 0 alcohol. It doesn't get any Amish and Mormon than this, baby. LaCroix.
So Clay, you have to save us here. Somebody else has to jump in on this. What have you got?
I don't have to save anything. His name's Tony Clifton. I don't know who's playing.
What?
How's it going? Get out of here. Get out.
Dr. Pepper, man.
Dr. Pepper.
Tony Clifton, man. I love Tony Clifton.
Big best.
I'm actually Googling what is Tony Clifton's favorite drink because I was going to be ready, and it turns out I couldn't find one.
Couldn't find it? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably a highball or Manhattan.
Yeah, it's got to be. He's an old school kind of guy, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
Nailed it.
Oh, this is like, in case you're wondering, you're listening to FoosTalk Live. Yes, we're going to talk about foosball. Not to worry, but there's some things that spill over from the green room, which is, by the way, we gather before and after the show. And Tony Clifton showed up tonight.
Watching the moon, folks. The movie Man on the Moon.
Oh,
Andy Kaufman.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, we
man.
could go on for too long about that. So, yeah, so guys, I think that tonight is going to be a lot of fun because, of course, we're going to be doing another Ask Me Anything feature.
Yeah.
And,
Literally, ask me anything. Ask me anything, folks. I will answer it.
Right. So, and in the spirit here, of course, you can call into the Podbean app, if you've got that on your phone, of course, or, you can just type us in a question if you have it. So anything comes to mind, ask us anything. Anything goes.
Yeah, well, I think we also harvested a few questions off the Facebook group as well. Hey, real quick before we move forward here, I just wanted to let everybody know just how excited we are about next week's show, which is going to be our anniversary show. Tom is putting together a neat little package for that, and we're also going to be joined by the outstanding goalie out of Colorado, Garrett Schirkenbach. The man with the perfect last name, Schirkenbach, Schirkenbach, because that's what he's known for. Then in 2 weeks from tonight, a really, really special show, folks. None other than Miss Cindy Head will be joining us in 2 weeks to talk about her extraordinary career. I mean, there's an argument to be made that Cindy Head is the greatest foosball player of all time, period.
Okay.
Based on what she has done, what she did over her career. Her winning percentage is second probably only to Frederick Collignon. So looking forward to that in 2 weeks. Next week, Garrett Schirkenbach, 2 weeks, Cindy Head.
And Cindy, of course, when we think about the Foosballers movie, you really get a flavor for what Cindy is all about, her intensity, her passion. I mean, she, above and beyond anybody I've ever seen play, live or in film. I mean, wow. She is a firecracker, no question. So looking forward to that. And
obviously, I mean, the greatest lady player to ever play anywhere, the entire world. I mean, she went overseas for the first time and doubled at the World Championships back in 2006, a multi-table, winning singles and doubles with her partner, Don Duquette, and kind of proved right there that she's the greatest player of all time. And I think at one point, I believe she won like 11 or 12 straight women's singles world championships. How about that?
No kidding. Wow. Nobody can say that, on either side of the fence, men or women. But yeah, that's amazing. Really cool. Well, guys, we're going to be talking about the Moneyball Northwest tournament, which is coming up April 29th in Portland, Oregon. In honor of that, of course, we have to raise a toast to our honor group of the week. Our honor group of the week goes to none other than PDX Foosball of Portland, Oregon. Yeah. To PDX Foosball. Cheers.
Love the PDX. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that you say Oregon, and in the UK, they say oregano and we say oregano? Did you know that?
Yeah, they do.
I did know that.
Oregano. They also say shallots and basil.
They also called them herbs instead of herbs.
And aluminium for aluminum.
That makes me want to punch myself in the mouth by saying oregano, shallots, and basil.
Here's one for you, Mark. Say this one: cinnamon aluminum linoleum.
Cinnamon aluminum linoleum.
Ooh,
that's my Jim Carrey version.
Cinnamon aluminum linoleum. I can come back down.
Tom Clifton, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, he's going to be here all night. He's going to be tough to get rid of. I can tell.
I can't help it. It just happens.
You're channeling it. I can see that. You are
the spirit of Tony Clifton.
Yeah, you gotta do latke. You gotta do latke. When you learn latke, you could do both and talk to yourself.
Latke is pretty easy. It's just you put your shoulders up by your ears.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's exciting that we've got on Don and Kopiy tonight, the Moneyball event, of course, as you said, April 29th through May 2nd at the Embassy Suites Hotel right there at Portland Airport. You literally can fly in, land, and grab the shuttle right to the and this is actually this promoter segment that we're doing tonight. It's something we want to do regularly as we have tournaments coming up on the schedule. We want to talk to the people who are running these tournaments, talk about their local and regional programs, talk about their vision, for what they're trying to do. And in some cases, these tournaments have been going on 10, 15, 20, 25, in some cases 40 years, like Steve Murray with Texas State. So we're looking forward to, throughout the rest of this year, and as things get going again, to talking with a lot of these movers and shakers in terms of the promotion of foosball.
And of course, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like everybody I speak to now has either had their first vaccination or second. So what about you guys? Just a quick poll. Mark, have you had your vaccination?
I've had both.
Nice.
And I had my second one almost probably a month ago or more.
Wow.
I work in different surgical settings, so
Right.
I was elevated. But I feel great, and I'm bold about it, and
Cool.
I'm comfortable. So yeah, it's been wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you for
Jim?
asking.
Yeah. No, I've had one now about 12 days ago. So my next one will be here in about 2.5 weeks before I head out on tour again. So yes, and that's funny. That's the first question everybody asks these days, isn't it? Even before they say, "How are you?" It's have you been vaccinated?
Right. Yeah. Are you good? Clay, or shall we say Tony? Are you vaccinated?
Tony, where do you
No-
go? Tony,
no
where
comment.
do you go?
No,
Tony gets to take bathroom breaks.
Man, listen here.
whenever-
I know how to operate a mute button. Get off my ass.
You know what's scary? Let me tell you scary about that. Clay, that sounds just like Brendan Flaherty, like exactly like Brendan.
Wow. I've only heard him talk once or twice, maybe. I
That's
feel
all
like
it
I could
takes.
probably do. I have to go consult the Inside Foods archives.
There you go.
It's a lot.
Find somewhere where he's talking.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had the vaccination yet because I'm not eligible because I had COVID too recently.
Oh, got it. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
So yeah, sure.
No,
I got the real deal. I don't need no vaccination.
somehow I knew that would be the
Vaccination,
answer.
vaccination.
Oh man. Well,
This is what you shouldn't have laughed at that in the pre-show because I wouldn't be doing it right now.
we did it to
Sorry, that is
ourselves.
Steps 4, 5, and 6 are very soon around the corner.
We asked
It's not
for
like
it.
we can control our labs. These are organic things that happen.
Oh,
when we
man.
find something funny. Hey, let's get this show back on the track.
Speaking of which, we've been talking about PDX and of course the Moneyball tournament coming up. Let's reminisce about that. With great moments in foosball history, this is a FoosTalk Live Flashback.
Get the switch. Juarez moving back. Barber forward. Dan working the defensive 5, but again, Adrian feeling comfortable with that big brush up pass. He'll set it up against Robert, looking to pull within 1 of victory. It's championship point for Adrian Zamora and James Castillo. What a great performance by these two players out of Northern California who are now just a goal away from the Moneyball title. And there it is. Great performance by Adrian Zamora and James Castillo, who come back from the loser side to double dip. Robert Montes and Dan Barber and win the 2020 Moneyball Doubles Championship. Outstanding performance by these two players from Northern California.
Listen in next time for another great moment in foosball history. It's FoosTalk Live Flashback. I love the polite applause. I mean, that was sounds like a pretty amazing event. But Adrian Zamora and Jim, and you pronounced his name correctly, Jim Castillo. James Castillo. Yeah.
He calls himself Castillo these days, but
does he?
The thing about it was you see first of all how hard it was for me to give any sort of compliment to a team from Northern California.
You're biased.
But it was also that's the last tournament I've worked. Last tournament that Inside Foos worked.
That was the last one.
2020, the very last weekend of February last year. And then of course a week or two later, everything shifted. The world tilted on its axis. But that's funny. The next tournament, in fact, this will be a trivia question. What were the 2 tournaments that Inside Foos worked consecutively? Because Moneyball was the last one. Moneyball is going to be the next one that we work as well. So that was a lot of fun. Great performance by those 2 guys from Northern California.
And yes, you did get. You didn't sound biased at all. By the way, it sounded like you're a little close to the microphone. I mean, like very, very near. But wow.
You talking about now, or are you talking about
during the play-by-play? But Really cool.
It
No,
was a Sunday evening. I was probably using it as a pillow for most
You
of
got,
that.
it's really, really poetic.
yes.
That's a that's a tournament you covered last, and it's a tournament you're covering next, and we're announcing it on Easter. And not to try too many parallels that could maybe be offensive to some people, but Easter is a time for renewal and rebirth.
Yeah.
That's what the idea. It's actually a holiday from antiquity,
Mhm.
and I think it's kind of fitting in a romantic, poetically romantic way that we're going to talk about our first tournament. And here's the other thing too. It's not like I haven't sat down with Jim for 1 or 2 or 3 matches in the last 5 or 6 years. But I challenge you, Jim, to remember the last time I covered an entire tournament with you.
Mhm.
And I believe it was 2006.
Probably
the last
was.
time
That's probably about right. I do recall
Yeah.
you sitting in 2008 for a few matches at the World Championships when Tony won
right.
the singles.
Yes. Yes.
But other than that, yeah, we have to go back to mid 2000 since the last
Yeah.
time that Mark actually
Wow.
spent a whole weekend with me, and he's going to be spending the whole weekend with me up
Right.
in Portland. In fact, we're going to have a great crew up there. Jason Wicks is
So-
coming up to handle the streaming for us, and
Let's
Noah
make a plan.
Rosenstein, the outstanding editor, is going to come up to be shooting a documentary up there at the event.
Wow.
And,
Very
so
cool.
it's going to be a great way to kick off what we think is potentially the next golden era of foosball. Not to overpromise, but we are focused, very focused at Inside Foos to making things happen. And we're going to start here in about 4 weeks up in Portland.
Awesome.
Right.
And hopefully we'll get some live reports from you guys on FoosTalk Live.
Yes,
Hope so.
absolutely.
Gosh, I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right. That would be awesome.
Yeah, so we'll make it happen. But no, it's getting back to what we're in this for to begin with, right? To cover the best when it comes to foosball tournaments, foosball playing. We cannot wait for this to break free. And wow, things are going to be a little hectic, I think, for the near future. What do you guys think?
Well, I have to try to remember what cable connects to which input. And also, the commentary stuff, it's always been second nature for me, at least it has been for the last 25 plus years. But so I don't see a problem with that. I think it's going to be, of course, relearning some things. And of course, we've got some other things planned that are brand new that we're going to be trying out. So, that's to be expected. But one thing we've learned over the last year is to be quick on our feet, quick to adjust, and ready for anything. And that's where we are today as well.
Absolutely. Well, if you're ready, then what do you say? We were going to talk about the top 5 this evening before we get to our conversation with Don and of course Kopiy. We're going to talk about the top 5, which is, by the way, the top 5 best players in the state of Florida.
Coast to coast.
Time once again for the FoosTalk Live top 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here's Jim Stevens and Mark Torres.
Yeah, Mark, the state of Florida. We've talked about Colorado, California, Texas, the Pacific Northwest, Minnesota, some of these real strongholds of foosball throughout history. Well, Florida is in that mix as well, as certainly one of the strongest states in history. And we are kind of going coast to coast tonight. We're going to be in Oregon with Kopiy and Don. We're going to shoot our way down to the opposite side of the country for our top 5 tonight. And for me, again, you can take this any way you want to. For me, it's all about, and this is kind of how I've treated all of these kinds of lists. Where did these players do their most damage, living? There's some players like Liz Hill, for example, who was born in Florida, but has lived in Oklahoma since very early in her career. So she isn't on my list tonight. If she had spent her entire career in Florida, she would have been. I don't know exactly how you took it, but that's kind of, where did they do their most damage is kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Well, we're gonna have different lists because I put Tony Spreedeman in Wisconsin, and I put Blake in Mississippi, and so those guys are not going to show up on my list. I made it that you're a native from Florida or you're identified from there, and that's the way I did it, man. I didn't.
Okay.
I took Tony out and then Blake out and put them in their home states, and did a little bit differently. So I'm excited. I think the listeners enjoy when we have different lists. They enjoy when we do things differently, so that'll be great.
As usual,
Was it
Mark, you're
last week?
being a purist.
Yeah, the week before we had 10 different ones. Yeah.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number
5. I had a struggle here because there's so many. I have an honorable mention list, and it's a pretty darn impressive set of honorable mentions. But I couldn't help but put Midori at number 5. I got Midori, and there's a lot of people to choose from. I mean, when if we get to honorable mentions like Starcheski and Benitez and Tommy Orr, but Midori, she has a World Cup win. She has world championships in women's, obviously back to back to back, and she's a pro in singles, and so she's the first woman to become a pro in singles. And I haven't been real I haven't been real assertive. And we're not due to being discriminatory at all, but there are very few women have showed up in my top 5, and that's not why she's in my top 5. She's in my top 5 because I believe that, and I struggled. Don't get me wrong, I struggled, but at the end of the day, I felt like she was deserving to be in my top 5. So I've got Midori, number 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly what she's done over the last few years. Remarkable already. I think a Hall of Fame career in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to back at the World Championships on Tornado, winning both singles and doubles, and the World Cup win as well. But for me, the body of work wasn't big enough, long enough. And someday she will be on this list. I'm confident of that. But for now, I needed players who had really done it over a longer period of time. And my honorable mention list is also quite long as well. How could it not be? And number 5 was really tough for me. There was 3 or 4 people I could put here and feel comfortable with it. You mentioned Chris Starcheski. He's on my honorable mention list, but he was close. Midori was close. Tommy Orr, of course, with a world championship, but still just so young. Body of work not there. My number 5 is Ronnie Nimoy.
Oh, man. I forgot about Ronnie Nimoy. Damn, I forgot about Ronnie Nimoy. Keep going, Jim.
Ronnie Nimoy, 1983 world champion in open singles.
Oh, my God.
He broke in the late 70s on the tournament soccer tour when he was like 15, right? And I remember there was a major $50,000 event where he won, I think, singles and finished second in doubles, something like that. At like 15 or 16 years old. And this was a $50,000 tournament, right? He's a guy that, when you watch him play, and he's come and gone over the years. He played in the 70s, played in the 80s, then kind of retired, came back in the 90s and did well on tour. I remember he and his partner, George Bernico, I think he was a lawyer out of Florida, who was his partner for a while. And they had some really top finishes in the late 90s. And then I saw him, I think, early 2000s and then into the 2010s. I think maybe 2010, 2011, he's back out on tour. And he's playing singles, and he's in the top 5 in open singles. The one thing this guy could do is he could do anything. Great 5, great 3 in singles. It's 2-rod. He would get 2 or 3 or 4 a game from its 2-rod shooting a pull shot. Super talented player at such a young age. For me, talent alone, of course, a world championship, high finishes throughout his career over several different decades, coming and going to the professional tour. But for me, I've got Ronnie Nimoy at number 5.
Wait, no, stop that. I got to change my number 5 to Ronnie Nimoy. Okay, and let me just add on to that right now. I think he won open singles at the Worlds when he was like 15 or 16. It was I don't know what the mythology is, but he had a reputation. Imagine that if Ronnie Nimoy had an illegitimate son that didn't hit the ball as well as he did and didn't have as lateral speed, that kid would have been Tommy Orr. Ronnie Nimoy is like a true prodigy, like super, super duper talent. And I'll just show him one last thing. The first time I saw Ronnie Nimoy play, it was in San Bernardino at the West Coast Open in 1988. He played against Todd Lafredo in open singles in a loser's bracket match. And my memory remembers him scoring 10 clean shots from the 2-bar and smoking Lafredo. Now, my memory might have been bad, but I can assure you this. It was no less than 8 clean shots from the 2-bar in crushing Todd Lafredo. He just smashed him. Unreal. Just he's all over the table, forward, back, all over the table, just a complete badass. Ronnie Nimoy, that's my number 5.
Well, just to let you know that our FoosTalk Live audience is chiming in on this, just to let you know, they're saying that he is from St. Louis originally.
He spent most of his early career. He did move to St. Louis later on, but in the 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s, Ronnie Nimoy lived in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Mhm.
Well, if he's from St. Louis, my number 5 is Midori. But anyway,
No, Ronnie, again, from my point of view, he did most of his damage while a Florida resident.
all right.
Here we go.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 4.
Like I said earlier, man, I struggle with this Florida. This Florida one is rough, right? Because I was had such a hard time, and I don't have Starcheski in my list, and I'm like, damn, man, this Starcheski Benitez not on my list, but I got number 4, Mike Green, and I got Mike Green, the consummate goalie, superstar, world champion, just a beast, and I think that guy was great and incredible, and he when you had forwards and you had goalies. I mean, that guy was the goalie's goalie, right? And you could still tell he was in our show months ago. And you could tell he had the moxie and he had the confidence and he had the personality. And he told a story on that show. He was playing Ryan Moore. And Ryan Moore is an absolute animal that hits the ball unlike anyone, except for probably Billy. And Billy's the one guy who hits the ball better than Ryan Moore. But Mike Green is like, man, he's talking smack to Ryan Moore. And he's like, holds nothing back. So I just think the charisma and the confidence and really the moxie on the table off and on. I got Mike Green at number 4.
I love the word moxie. That's perfect, right? I mean, he is not only is he doing the job on the table, but he's just a tough dude, right? You look across and he's just tough, man. And of course, Mike's been on here as a guest and as a caller, and we love Mike Green. Another great Florida goalie, Carl Miller. Don't forget about him winning the Grammy Start as well, and a great official. These guys, both of those are on my honorable mention lists for sure. But I've got number 4, and again, this is a testament to just how tough this list is. My number 4 is Bob Diaz. Potentially the greatest goalie ever, right? 4 world championships, all of them with guys named Moore, by the way, 1 with Terry and 3 with Ryan. 14 titles during the 1990s with Terry Moore. Also played with Tom Yore, won a U.S. Open with Tom Yore. And also had some pretty good singles finishes. Wasn't a bad singles player. And the only reason I have him down at number 4 is because he really didn't do enough as a forward or a singles player, although he did have his moments as a singles player. The fact that he is quite possibly the greatest defensive goalie ever, certainly on the short list for greatest goalie ever, and I'm talking worldwide. Certainly Diaz, all of those things add up, and maybe a bit to some degree of an underachiever. I don't know. 4 world championships is a lot, but he and Terry Moore probably should have won a couple or 3 more. And so for me, Bob Diaz, and again, a testament to just how tough this list is. My top 4, I knew what they were going to be. It was the 5 I had a problem with. Top 4, I know who they are. I don't know the specific order necessarily, but for me, I had to put Bob Diaz at number 4.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 3.
I got the great average player from Florida, Tom Yore. No, I'm just kidding. Tom Yore is great, man. He's got the world championship. He was another phenom, frankly. We were coming up at the same time, and we were novices. I believe we were amateurs at the same time. I know we're novices at the same time because you heard his story last week when I was going off about Charles Britt, and a young novice Tom Yore has to play Charles Britt in the finals of Master Singles, and Tom Yore was a stud. He worked his tail off in his game, and he's the consummate Florida pull shooter, tic tac. Smart player, just an incredible star out of Florida. And what he does later as an ambassador to the U.S., supporting the ITSF rules formation, and then going off and I don't know how many World Cup wins the gentleman has, but he is as deserving as anyone of a Hall of Fame career. And he's going to be recognized as a Hall of Famer. So as much as I'll debate Tom's credentials and ability to color commentate in an Inside Foos broadcast, there will be no hesitation in me recognizing Tom Yore as the number 3 player out of Florida.
Yeah, I got him there too. For me, Tom Yore is one of the top 10 foosball men probably of all time, based on his success as a player. You mentioned as an ambassador, of course, the Rules Commission. Just a class act on and off the table. One of the hardest working players you're ever going to find. Not a guy that was gifted naturally, although he is a talented player. Certainly, if you've ever played rollerball with Tom Yore, you know how good he is. But this is a guy who's won 2 world championships, the one with Lewis Cartwright in 2005, and then with Brandon Moreland at the World Cup, at the ITSF multi-table world championships, I believe 2011. And this is a guy that just gets it done. And you mentioned the Hall of Fame. He was the class of 2000 Hall of Famer, didn't get to make a speech again this year, not able to be officially inducted, at least in person. That will come, I promise you. A guy who has also worked in the booth with me. What hasn't he done, right? But for me, Tom Yore, his career speaks for itself, multiple titles. When we look back on the overall career of Tom Yore, all the different aspects of it, we're again going to look at one of the guys that has to be in consideration for simply one of the 10 greatest foosball men in history. So for me as well, Mark Torres, I've got your good friend, your fellow expert analyst, Tom Yore, and I'm sure we're going to work together again, all of us in the booth, and maybe as soon as Texas State. But I've got him at number 3 as well.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 2.
Well, I have Diaz higher on my list. I have Diaz as my number 2. And it's very, right, I mean, calling him an underachiever, that's a tough one, right? Because I don't know the sheer volume of regional and state championships. And you know what? This reminds me. We just listened to James Castillo when Moneyball, whatever it was, 2 years ago. And that was James roaring. James Castillo was roaring because I think that may be one of his first open regional titles. And that's the enthusiasm and excitement of a pro who's been around for 30 years winning his first regional title. The reason why that's relevant in this conversation is because Bobby Diaz has won so many of these. I think it's lost in time and history how many he's won of those, not including state championships and then majors. I'm sure you could have that number, Jim. And then when you say 4 world championships, gosh, how many foosers never get one? So, and then we were still in an age where there were goalies and forwards, there's such a strong argument, right? I think we did this when we did top goalies of all time, and Bobby's right there somewhere fighting with Lafredo. So I got to give Bobby Diaz a little bit higher on my list. I got Bobby Diaz at number 2.
Yeah, and again, when I say underachiever, it's just because he has been in that situation for so long and so many occasions with playing with 2 of the greatest forwards of all time. Maybe he could have gotten more, especially with Terry. You would have thought the team of the 90s, they won 14 titles together. You would have thought maybe there'd be more than just the one world championship together, but not to diminish him at all. I'm a huge Bobby Diaz fan. But I've got, at my number 2, I've got Johnny Horton. Then again, talk about underachievers. This may be the ultimate underachiever in the history of the sport. And it's still a guy who got 6 world titles and 18 major titles. He won world championships in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and even reached a final in 2013 at the World Championships on Tornado in open doubles. Of course, the greatest showman the sport has ever seen. By the way, did you know Todd Lafredo has won world championships in 5 different decades? Is that amazing? 70s, 80s,
Crazy.
Wow. 2000s,
Amazing.
2010s. Is that amazing? But a guy that, because of his personality, because of his habits, etc., really didn't get a chance. He spent 4 or 5. They always, in baseball, they always talk about Ted Williams and what if he hadn't gone to war in World War II, and if he hadn't gone to the Korean War, he missed 4 or 5 seasons. What could he have done? What would his final numbers have been? Well, Horton missed 4 or 5 seasons because of self-inflicted wounds, so to speak. But what could he have done? Still, the most compelling player. If Johnny Horton's player is playing, you can't help but watch him. You want to see it. You want to see whether it's going to be a car crash or whether you're going to see something just incredible on the table. Truly a product of that Florida system. I mean, how good was Florida in the 80s? We talked about Ricky Benitez and what he did down there, and in how good the play was in the 1980s and then 70s as well. And Johnny Horton, a product of that. To me, he's number 2 on my list, and really, looking back, he could have done a little bit more. Horton, number 2 for me.
FoosTalk Live proudly presents the Top 5. Number 1.
Well, it's the subjectivity of the criteria that makes this fun. And I'm pretty sure I know what Jim's number one is, and because give him credit for that residency, and I won't say it. Jim could disclose it, and he will. I didn't give him credit for that residency. I think he whatever. I was going to say where he was when he won his first world title, and you're going with where he did the most damage. My number one is Johnny Horton, and it's Johnny Horton in the way I kind of inverted a little bit. And Horton would have been Jim's number one if we had changed our criteria, but. Horton, when I invert it and say, look at what Horton did in the limited time he gave himself to do it. If he was the gentleman, would have given himself more time, he would have been a freaking monster. And he's still a monster, even though he didn't give himself that much time. And you could find video of Johnny Horton playing as recently as 3 or 4 years ago. And he's still an absolute machine. And these guys are pushing 60. If they're not there, they're already. I mean, they're 60 or there, and they're still some of the best players in the world, and a handful. I don't care if you're a young master at the top of your reflexes and peak performance with all the adrenaline. You were going to have your hands full in a singles match with Johnny Horton. He's a shadow of who he was, and he's still going to take you right to the trenches and be banging on the door. And if you don't watch out and close in the clutch, you're going to lose to Johnny Horton. That's a testament to his greatness. I mean, imagine Muhammad Ali, if he was available, still being able to pummel on heavyweights. It's absurd. So I got Johnny Horton, supreme talent. And the IQ, I didn't know about Johnny Horton's IQ until I got on the phone with him. And when he starts recalling matches he played when he was 17 years old, you know he has some kind of eidetic memory or something going on, not unlike Federico, and you heard me talk about this before. He's a foosball mastermind who has issues that prevented him from reaching his full potential. And even in spite of that, he's one of the greatest players of all time. He's a mastermind. He's like the Joker. You can't don't let the guy ever fool you. He's crazy like the Joker. Johnny Horton, my number one.
That's a great analogy, the Joker. I love it. Back even in 2013 when he teamed with Steve Viney, to reach the finals. What a great performance. A couple of those matches, which you can watch at InsideFoos.com, by the way, were just remarkable, just incredible performances for a guy that was in his mid-50s at the time and really had been up and down and suffered a lot of different issues and problems during his career, but still had it. Again, it's that intellect, obviously a little bit of physical skill as well. But great choice there for Horton for sure. Now, again, for me, it's where do they do the most damage? My number one is Tony Spredeman, who may go down as the greatest. I think he already is the greatest tornado player of all time, may go down as the greatest American player of all time, certainly the greatest singles player of all time. He has 8 World Singles Championships on Tornado. Also has one, by the way, on Leonhardt, which he won in 2019, which is, again, a testament to how good of a multi-table player he is. I believe he had 6 World Cup gold medals with Team USA. I mean, we don't have to talk a whole lot about Tony Spredeman. The only thing with Tony is maybe the doubles resume isn't quite there. But again, you look at who he's played with in some of these, and not to diminish the talents of people like David Mering, et cetera. But, Tony, maybe if he's playing with Rob Morris all the time, has a few more world championships in doubles as well. Tony Spredeman won 12 world titles. I believe the number is 12 world titles on Tornadoes so far, and then 13 with the one on Leonhardt. But of those, 11 of the 13 were won while he lived in Florida. 2003, we always remember the breakthrough at age 18 when he, won the World Singles Championship after winning those 5 events the previous, or finishing in second the previous year and winning 5 events in 2001. And then in 2008, of course, the incredible performance against Frederic Collignon to win the World Singles Championships. Both of those were won when he lived in Cudahy, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. But since then, he moved to Florida, 11 World Championships living in the state of Florida. And if you ask Tony now, obviously a guy who is loyal to his roots up there in Wisconsin, but he's a Floridian now. He's a guy that would prefer not to spend the winters in Milwaukee if he can help it. But again, for me, it's where do they do the most damage? And for me, it's Tony Spredeman at number one.
Now, the debate has been raging online here with listeners when it comes to our top 5 this evening. So the criteria, just to clarify once again, is those who have resided in Florida for X number of years?
It's whatever Mark and I decide. Whatever I decide for my list, and it's whatever he decides for his list. And I love the fact that there's debates and there's differences in opinion. Of course, that's right. We live for that. We love that, and that's just simply my opinion, my list. This is how I look at it. Mark had a different way of looking at it. For sure, what makes these things so good.
Now, it keeps it lively and it creates a debate. And if we had to create the rules beforehand, oh my God, we need lawyers to litigate how we're going to argue about it. Yeah. So this keeps it simple, right?
Well, when you look at somebody like a Todd Lafredo, who is originally from Colorado, is basically a foosball nomad. I mean, he's traveled all over the planet and seems to have no home base. So where would you call him as far as Colorado's his original state?
I'd call him Colorado. I mean, that's there's where you're native to, there's where you're identified from, you call them a product of Colorado foosball.
Sure. And it's a one-by-one basis, right? You got to take each of them and kind of make that call on them. I mean, Liz Moore, hailing from Florida and early on in her career, that's where she played out of, but she moved to Oklahoma pretty early, and most of her championships have come from there. So I'm a little bit surprised you did not have Liz on your list, Mark Torres.
I did have her on my list, and then I actually did. I had Midori and Liz on my list at one point, and I thought about Oklahoma, and I thought, what do I do in this? What do I do with this kind of this scenario? But she's really deserving to be on that list, right?
Yeah, because I don't believe Tom Yor was born in Florida either. So I believe he is originally from Wisconsin as well.
Interesting. Well, it's all a matter of your opinion. Which is cool. And I think it's good to mention that next week, of course, during our first anniversary show, it's going to be a special edition of the Top 5. The top 5 best guests on FoosTalk Live for the first year. Now, this is where we all get to chime in, including Tony Clifton. Clay.
I have an opinion right now. Matter
of fact. So anyway, we'll probably have to set aside a little more time for the top 5 next week, but I think that'll be fun to all jump in on our opinions of who we feel is the best. Top 5 best guests of FoosTalk Live.
Don't piss anybody off for that, right?
It's like lots of honorable mentions, but
I got 50 to choose from. So
hate mail. Well, I guess if you get hate mail, you're doing something right.
Well, I do a lot of things right then, because I get plenty of it.
Well, okay. Well, guys, we're looking towards the future. And the future, of course, means getting back out and playing again. And, of course, Moneyball Northwest is happening April 29th through May 2nd in Portland, Oregon. And we are more than privileged to have with us this evening the gurus, the promotional gurus and organizers of that tournament, Don Ciser. And, of course, his partner, Kopiy Cam. So, guys, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Don, we got you. Kopiy?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. So welcome to FoosTalk Live.
I just want to say one thing before you get started on any interviews. Which state is the lowest bar for me to get into so I can get in on the top 5? If it's Alaska, I'm moving right now. Just so you know, I'll be native within a couple of years. I'm ready to go.
I think that's
Puerto Rico, bro. It's Puerto Rico. Yeah. You can be number 1 from Puerto Rico.
That's not bad either. Yeah, that's good weather.
Well,
Vermont, by the way, is the answer to the question.
Right, Vermont.
Yeah, there are 5 states in the union that are not represented on the IFP tour.
I'm 10 minutes from Vermont, basically. So, I think that qualifies for sure. So, wow. So, guys, thank you so much for making it to FoosTalk Live this evening. We're looking forward to this big event. So, first thing I got to ask you both, Don, let's start with you. How in the world did you get into foosball to start with? When was the first time you saw a foosball table, and how old were you?
Oh, my. So, I'm going to date myself. I was a junior in high school. 1976, and there was an old Bonzini in the front hall.
Yes.
Yeah, it was in the front hall of the Catholic prep school.
Oh, wow.
That I boarded at in Arkansas, in Subiaco, Arkansas, of all places.
Wow.
And I was introduced to it, and I look across the table, and there's a gentleman named Steck, and he has one arm. He lost an arm when he was younger, and he's beating the crap out of me with one arm, and I'd never played foosball.
I love it.
I'm like, right, I got to learn. I got to get better at this. So that was my introduction.
That's great. And Kopiy, how about you? When was the first time you saw a foosball table, and how old were you?
Oh God, I'd have to say probably about 12 or so. And at the time, just like your average Joe having a foosball in the basement, you think you're on top of the world. You think you're invincible, and that was me then. But yeah, I was about 12 or so.
Oh, very cool. Now, both of you have ended up playing, of course, on the tour. Don, when was the first time you played in a major match?
Well, the first major match I went to was the U.S. Open, I believe they called it, in St. Louis in 1994.
Cool.
I was out of Utah, and Steve Morey and Marty Lopez were my partners and mentors, and out of Utah there. And I took third in singles and third in doubles in both rookie events, and they immediately made me an amateur or whatever.
Right. So you stepped up in points immediately.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy about that because I proceeded to get kicked out of me for the next 3 years.
Yeah. So Don Ciser, one of the 5 best players ever out of the state of Utah.
Yeah, I doubt it.
That 1994. That's funny. That 1994. Talking about Tom Yore, and he and his partner Casey Pruitt won doubles there that year, and I believe Johnny Horton won singles.
Yep, I remember watching Horton play. Yep.
Yep. And so that's great. And so we've got some of your early career here. Let's talk a little Moneyball. We'll be up there in 4 weeks. It's the return of Inside Foos to the Pro Tour. Looking forward to streaming and recording the event. I've had the pleasure of working it the last 2 years, really well organized in a very historic part of the country, the Pacific Northwest, where tournament soccer was located. Let's talk a little history, a little Moneyball history. How long have you guys been running this event, and what kind of gave you the idea to start doing it? Let's start with you, Kopiy.
I think the numbers kind of speak for itself. So this being the Moneyball 10, so each year, obviously, each number represents a year. So going back, let's see, so about 2011, I believe it was, we just decided to just form, I think we all got gathered around, and at the time we had no idea what to call it, but we eventually came up with a name, and we had no idea. When that first evolved, we had no idea what was to come, later. So, we just a roll of the dice. We did that, and lo and behold, I think it took off on a good, pretty big scale. Particularly with Ryan Moore coming in. I think he was 3 years or so consecutively. So that helped propel the Moneyball tremendously. And then with that, they just kind of grew from there.
No, fantastic. Now, for you guys, each year you've done this, has it increased, or is it leveled off at a certain point? What's been happening?
Don, I'm going to let you answer that one. This being the pandemic year, I think this is an unprecedented year. So that could be anybody's guess.
So I just joined Kopiy on this about 4.5, 5 years ago after I played my first Moneyball tournament coming back. And I just noticed it, and I thought, wow, we could really do something with this. And so I've been helping him since. Since I've been on board, working with him and promoting this thing since I've come, not saying toot my horn or anything, but since I've been here, to the time frame I came here, it's grown now. We've gone from about 80 to, I think we're going to probably see north of 150, maybe even 200 people this year because of the huge I don't know, frustration that builds up out there in the foosball community about not being able to play.
No, it's absolutely true. I think there's a lot of that kind of talk. It's like we're all pent up and just anxious to get out there and do this. So initially, when the gates open, it's going to be like a tsunami. People just flooding into the tournaments, and hopefully you'll see that April 29th. That would be awesome.
Hey guys, I got a question for you. I've never been to your tournament. I'm excited to go for the first time and get in the booth and do some great stuff with Inside Foos. Explain to me what makes your tournament different. I don't know what Moneyball is. I don't know what that event's about. Kind of describe to me the format. Why should people be excited about the format? What is it?
Go ahead, Kopiy.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're a whole lot, different than other tournaments. I think what really draws us or sets us apart from the other conventional tournaments across the board is, I think the Moneyball event itself having such a large we're talking entry fees, $100 entry fees, for example, and I think that kind of stands out in itself, and it really inspires a lot of people. I think initially when we first started, that was kind of we had a lot of players that were a little timid because that's not something somebody wants to dive in, for the first time, but I think as we evolved, as time went on, I think more and more people are starting to join that particular event. And I don't know, what do you think, Don? I think that in itself has a huge impact. It's got a huge, it kind of lures a lot of players, and I think that kind of does help propel the rest of the tournament itself. But ultimately, I mean, it's the same. It's the same with any other tournament. Just the Moneyball kind of stands out.
Let me add to that, you guys, because I tinkered with promoting in 2006. I did 3 tournaments, and the only reason why I stopped doing it is because my real job was too labor intensive. But I didn't understand why people were so timid to have high entry fees. So think back to 2006. I threw a tournament for 32 pros and masters who paid $325 each to play in my tournament. And I had a 15 grander, and I put it together in 6 weeks. And all that is getting outside the box and finding the right people who want to pay to play each other and asking them to do it, putting the right format together and making sure they feel the quality of the tournament. And people, I mean, you can't do it for everybody, and there's different for masters and pros and rookies, but push the envelope from the business side, and people will pay to play. If people would pay $325 to play my tournament in 6 weeks in 2006, what will they pay now? I love what you guys are doing because you're getting outside the box and you're promoting, and I think it could be done many more ways than people are currently doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
I agree too. And to add on what Kopiy just said a second ago, the other thing that with the Moneyball event itself, we only pay 3 places. So now you're looking at a $2,000-$3,000 pot, and first place gets half of it, second place gets 30%, and third place gets 20%. People walk out with a couple $1,000s in their pocket. They're pretty happy.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, that attracts people too. And then to get to your point, Mr. Torres, what I would say is, as to change the way we market foosball, we have to look at who our main audiences are and stuff like that. So part of our vision is to start to build this same thing for amateurs and experts to have their own Moneyball event, so to speak.
Yeah, that's great.
So they don't have to compete with the pros, although they do and they want to, but they don't have to blow the $100 to compete with them. They can do it at their own level, and we can now service the 80% of the foosballers out there in the world, because we're not all pros and we're not all experts. I mean, or masters.
Yeah, the template works for any division, doesn't it? And to clarify, you're running a traditional tournament. You have your open doubles, open singles, open mixed, women's doubles, women's singles, etc. But in addition to that, you've got this special Moneyball event, which was won last year, as we heard in the flashback earlier, by Adrian Zamora and James Castillo. They beat Robert Mares and Dan Barber in the final. I think Mares is upgrading for this year. From what I've
just
heard.
A tad.
I believe Robert's going to be playing with none other than Tony Spredeman in the event this year. That's what I've heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Oh, that's going to make for some amazing television, folks. So we'll be there, of course. Inside Foos will be there. We'll be returning to the Pro Tour for that event. And how exciting is that? I mean, to really, for me, you guys are doing it the right way. You're doing it at the right time. And I am really excited. It's been almost 14 months now since I've commentated a match live. And this is what I do. This is what I've done for 28 years. So I can't wait to come up there and hang out with you guys and hang out with some of the best players in the world. And, of course, my good friend Mark Torres. And we are really, really looking forward to it.
We're excited to have you, as always, and look forward to everything that you help the foosball community with.
Oh, it's our pleasure, absolutely. And hopefully here in FoosTalk Live, we'll be able to get some spot announcements as to what's happening there. Will you guys be too busy to talk, or will you be able to take a couple minutes out to talk to us during the tournament?
Oh, absolutely. I think Kopiy definitely, we could be there. What do you think, Kopiy?
Yeah, I think so. I think between the two of us and a handful of others that'll, help assist us, and we should be able to break away.
So aside from the some of the superstars you've already mentioned, Tony Sprademan, who else is going to be showing up? Do you know?
Yeah, so I know for a fact Brandon Moreland and Ellen Moon are coming.
Nice.
Warren Van Lanningham out of Texas is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Orey is in the hotel. He's already booked at the hotel. Justin Shaw, of course, lives there, and so does Cody Byrie. He lives in that neck of the woods. I've heard that Steve Morey out of Utah may be visiting us. I heard that a couple days ago. I'm still trying to confirm that.
5 best players out of Utah. Yeah.
Well, let's not forget. Rob Morris kind of popped in unannounced, so anything can happen.
Yeah, Rob Morris definitely. He's there too.
Zamora will come up as well. Hey guys, this tournament being held in Portland, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, one of the truly historic regions in foosball history, with tournament soccer being located just up the highway there, up I-5 in Seattle. But so many great players came out of Seattle or Washington, came out of Oregon, came out of Idaho. Rick Martin, of course, comes to mind. But talk a little bit about your knowledge of the history of foosball in your region.
Go ahead, Kopiy.
Well, Don, I'll let you start on that one since you're more familiar in that northern area.
Is that what it is?
Okay.
Yeah, it's older. Maybe not the wiser, but older.
We certainly got the old on everybody. So with the history of the foosball up here, I mean, I remember back when Rick Martin was just getting started and playing with the rocket push kick of his, and seeing that for the first time at tournaments, and I think it was Reno, if I'm not mistaken. It was a while back. But just watching him play and do his thing, and then I played against Rich Fosner back in the late 80s, early 90s. He's another name from up here that everybody knows, right? Yeah. And the history's pretty rich. I mean, you've got also guys like I'm sure Jerry Meister's up here. And then you've got a few others up there in the Seattle area that I'm sorry I can't remember the names right now, but I played with quite a bit back then too. So, but it's a great rich history because it's one of the original histories for foosball. I mean, this is where the $1 Million Tour did a lot of their stuff in up here too, right? A lot of their events were held up. Julia O'Halloran, as a matter of fact, she won a car on that tour.
Wow.
And she's actually my senior doubles partner at this Moneyball. She has been for 3 years in a row now.
Hey, Dan Schurmeyer is in our chat saying Dan Ciser, who I only know from mythology and legend and black and white pictures, even though we had color photos back then. Why the hell are the foosball pictures in black and white and they had color photos for like 50 years? Anyway, Dan Ciser, what do you remember about it? You guys remember watching him play? Here's a machine. He's kind of the progenitor for the Android non-emoting, non-reacting style. Who can speak a little bit to Dan Ciser?
Not myself. Don, you'd probably know more. Again, age is going to supersede this.
Yeah, I've seen videos of him. I never got to see him in person. And Fury, too, is another one. I never got to see in person, although I met Fury because he was in Vegas a few years back when I was playing there. And I just, shook hands with him because he was playing with a friend of mine at the time who was just happened to wander up to a table when they were all practicing. So.
And will you both get a chance to play? I mean, obviously you've got lots to do during the tournament, but will you play some events?
Hoping to. Yeah, I think, what are we talking? Maybe do 2 events minimum and kind of go from there?
Yeah, we were talking about doing 2 events, and Our friends are like, hey, you want to play? And we're just trying to let them know that if we say that, we can't guarantee we're going to be able to play. So you may want to pick a different partner.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, even I've had a chance to play up there the last couple of years in senior doubles, so with a fake ID, of course. But you talk about Dan Ciser and Rick Martin. Probably if Mark and I are doing a top 5 players from the Pacific Northwest, maybe those are your top 2, right? I mean, just tremendous players. And Dan Ciser, I remember I met him when we inducted him into the Hall of Fame, 15 years ago. What a great guy, and really a legendary player, and from a legendary part of the world. And we are so looking forward to coming up your way. It's April 29th through May 2nd at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Portland, Oregon, at the airport, which is kind of convenient. I always love these airport tournaments because you get off the plane, you hop on the shuttle, you're there in 5 minutes, and there you go. So we appreciate what you guys do, and I know you're doing it on a regular basis, continuing into the future. The whole Moneyball idea is something really that could extend beyond just the Pacific Northwest. And we look forward to coming up there and spending some time with you guys for about 4 weeks.
Jim, sorry to interrupt. One last thing before this slips my mind. If anybody has any kind of leverage on one player that we've been talking about getting out there for quite some time, and the name escaped my mind. Don, help me out here. So it's Lotus's husband. What's his name?
Oh, Larry Chesbrough.
Yeah. If anybody out there can pull some strings and get him out there, I mean, anybody can do that. That would just be a blessing.
Yeah, Kathy Brainerd, Lotus. Yeah,
it's going to be a tough sell if you can't even remember.
You know who is 50-50, like not even that. So we try to get Larry on the radio show. Mike Green tried to get Larry. Larry's a recluse, and you guys have probably heard me talking about Larry on this radio show because he's a legend. He's a legend.
His 5-bar is unbeatable. It's unbelievable.
I've never seen the guy play. So again, that's kind of beyond my time. But I would love to see him play.
I have seen him play, and I would love a few things. I would love more, like seeing Rico play on Tornado again would be amazing. Seeing Larry play on Tornado. I'll just say this about Larry. You could tell the guys who put the time in when they made it their craft and wanted to win. And so very few of those guys have the lateral speed, the power, the presence of mind, the wicked execution. Yeah. Larry Chesbrough is one of those guys, 100% super talent, and just one of those guys that we lost in time and space and the issues with foosball. But gosh, I would love to see that guy come out, and I could assure you, he could get on any foosball table right now and blow your mind.
Maybe certainly for a match or two. And it's funny we mentioned Larry Chesbrough because he paired up with Ricky Benitez in the mid '80s to really become maybe at that time one of the top 2 or 3 strongest teams on the Dynamo Tour for those years, and really a guy that even now among the top players is sort of a legendary figure. A guy, what could he have done if he had a continued sort of thing? So hopefully we can get Larry down there at some point as well.
Well, Don, I think I might have to tell Lotus if she was to come. I mean, she'll have to bring him, or she just can't come. I'll have to pull some other string. But if anybody out there can do something to kind of influence that, I would definitely appreciate that because nobody's had luck in the last couple of years.
So just a quick question for you both. Now, when it comes to going to the tournament, what kind of hotel arrangements do people have to make? They have to get those booked soon?
Don, so our hotel block is still open for I think the rest of this coming week, and then I'll be extending it again if people need to go past that. But right now, in the rate I got was I basically went out at Expedia and other places that everybody's been using third parties, and I went back to the hotel and said you got to beat them by $10, and they did.
Cool.
So it's very inexpensive. And the hotel is the Embassy Suites. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but we have free made-to-order breakfast every morning for those staying there. And it's like really made to order, and it's nice. And then also happy hour from 5:30 to 7:30, which means alcohol is free during that time. Well, but I did not say that on the podcast.
It's always happy hour for Mark.
I've stayed there for work multiple times. It's a nice place to stay.
Atrium hotels, isn't it?
Great. Yeah, it's great.
Embassy Suites.
Central sort of lobby.
Cool.
So you can go to the flyer that's on the Facebook group. It's a Moneyball Facebook group. Just go look for groups in Facebook under Moneyball. Or PDX or
PDX,
many
yeah.
other places. There's like 25 of them out there right now around the country that have our flyer up there, and you can actually get the link right off the flyer there.
Awesome.
All right.
Very, very cool.
And you can go ahead. And you can register also for the tournament if you want to play. All of it online with Modern Foosball. There's a link up there for that too.
Wow. You make it easy. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Don and Kopiy, you guys are so generous with your time. We really appreciate you jumping on for FoosTalk Live, and we're looking forward to hearing some live reports from the scene as it happens here on FoosTalk Live for the near future. And looking forward to a huge turnout for you both.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Awesome.
And thank you all for having us, and happy Easter to all.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you
Happy
too, guys.
Easter.
We'll see you in a
Yes,
few
sir,
weeks.
Bob.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Take
Sounds
care.
good.
Thank
Take
you.
care, guys.
There goes Don and
Thanks,
Kopiy from Portland, Oregon for the Moneyball Northwest tournament. Again, April 29th through May 2nd.
Yeah, it's actually a Thursday through Sunday event. And so I'll actually be arriving on Wednesday to get things set up, get things prepared as we go live on Friday at InsideFoos.com with our first live event, our first major tour event in 14 months. How about that?
Wow. That's
And you know
amazing.
what? Go to the tournament if you're itching for foosball and you want to be competitive and you want to have an opportunity to get some good money and some good cash prices. Go because you want to be a part of Inside Foos' first broadcast in over like 2 years, right? It's like it was more than a year ago, right? So get out there and hang out with Inside Foos and have a great time with our first tournament back. And we have some special things. We're gonna do some those between 5 and 7 drinks are on me. They're free.
Oh, that's happy hour, isn't it?
I don't know, Tom, but I'm offering free drinks during that time.
Free oatmeal. He's offering free oatmeal in the morning.
And I will make your breakfast in the morning with some help.
Could I have a muffin, please? I'd like a free muffin. That would be good.
Mark is an accomplished omelet chef, so we're looking forward to that.
Dude, you wait. I'm gonna post. I made 3 beef Wellingtons tonight. I crushed it. I made 3 because it was a big tenderloin.
Look
and
at
was,
you.
Oh my god, they were stunning. They were so damn good.
Beef Wellington.
Better than a beef Wellington.
Well,
I'm not sure. Hey, that was great. Great to talk with those guys again. It's April 29th through May 2nd. Embassy Suites Hotel. Go online, make your reservation at Portland Airport. And Portland's a great town. It really is. It's a great part of the country. What a great city it is. Really cool people. Just a cool vibe up there in Portland. And I can't wait to head up there again here in about 4 weeks.
It's going to be an awesome vibe, no doubt about it. Well, guys, I know that we are going to, because it is Easter Sunday, Mark has to go soon. So let's play the game. Let's do this. FoosTalk Live proudly presents Ask Me Anything.
You can ask me anything.
You have to ask me nicely. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Feel lucky. Well, do you, punk?
You have some questions for me, do you? All right, well, let's get to them.
All right. Well, hey, ask me anything.
What was you fed up? It was Tom.
I need to get Tony Clifton on that.
You got some questions for me, do you? Come on, ask me.
I'd love to take credit, but no, it's
Tony Clifton. Anything.
That is Tony Clifton.
All right, we're ready. I am ready, man.
All
Ask me anything.
So here we go. We have let's take a look at the list here. This comes straight from Inside Foos Facebook page. People have been jumping all over this one. So we have Adam wants to know, given the dominance of the U.S. and over the years, I wondered if there's ever been talk of a Ryder Cup style competition of U.S. versus Europe. If so, who would make the respective teams in 2021? Wow.
Well, there's, I'll jump on this first if you don't mind, Mark. There's a bit of a precedent for that. In 2016 and in 2018 in Las Vegas, there was what was called the Intercontinental Cup event, right? Where your different continents play against each other. But of course, North America was the U.S. World Cup team plus a couple of Canadians, basically. And so they faced the world. In 2016, they beat the world. In 2018, they probably should have in a match that eventually was won by Europe. Team Europe came in and won. And, basically the North American team, the U.S. team, whatever would be the U.S., World Cup team. And then you put together this team compiling or putting together all these different European players. It'd be pretty close as it was in 2016 and 2018.
Mark?
I have no opinion of this.
No opinion.
I think it'd be great. I'd be fun. And I knew about the Intercontinental Cup. and I didn't know what the format was. I thought it was the Americas, right? But the Europeans did come over because I was at that tournament.
North America, yes, which was basically Mexico, U.S., Canada, and Greenland. No players from Greenland, by the way, or Mexico. And then Central America was lumped in with South America for that event. But the U.S. Was most of the North American team, of course. A couple of players, Linda Lee, I think Mario Yanutsi were on the team as well. But basically, I think the U.S. team probably would be pretty competitive against the rest of the world.
Right. So, okay, let's say, because of course in Ryder Cup with golf, you've got team captains. Who would you choose as a team captain for U.S. and who would be a team captain for Europe?
Brian Shrunk would be the captain for the U.S.
Brian Shrunk. Well, no, there is a team captain. It's been Robert Mares for most of the last 8 or 10 years for Team USA. Team Europe, I don't know. Mark,
Brendan Flaherty would be the captain for Team Europe.
Brendan Flaherty.
Brendan Flaherty.
Okay. Give Ireland back to the Irish.
Brendan Flaherty. That's how you say his name in French.
Usually it's someone like Robert Atha, I think, or Sven Blomfield maybe, or some of those great European players would be the captains. But it is something that's interesting, but something that's kind of already happened.
Okay. All right. How about this one? Jimmy Love wants to know, is Inside Foos going to be going to more non-traditional tournaments like Beach Town Beatdown? And if so, will there be a video section of it on the new website?
Answer to that question is, there will be more announcements that are going to come, not pie in the sky stuff, but actual announcements.
Oh,
the Inside Foos calendar is an international calendar, and it's all about time permitting. It's going to be really about time permitting and the visibility of the tournament and the prestige of the tournament. Not that we're going to discriminate. We'd love to cover everything.
Yes,
time permitting, right? But if there's tournaments, and mind you, when things get started back up, Germany throws somewhere in the area of 4,000 tournaments per year of a regional and state quality.
Oh my!
They throw a monster number. We can't cover everything. In an ideal scenario, we have 2 crews, and we don't have the skill set for that, or the development, or the experience, or the equipment. But yes, but we are working toward embedding that type of reach in multiple countries. So, to truncate this, the voice of Inside Foos and the voice of Foosball is Jim Stevens. Jim Stevens could only be in so many places at once. If we could clone him, we would. And you wouldn't want just me there, because it'd just be a lot of me kibitzing with random nonsense. You need Jim Stevens in a lot of these places. There's a possibility with technology that Inside Foos can possibly cover some stuff remotely. So, but the true answer to the question is, we would love, especially because who needs visibility and promotion and support? It is the small tournament, the smaller
non-traditional.
Yeah. So it'd be great. It'd be amazing. We're gonna be at the Beach Town Beatdown. Jimmy knows that. The Beach Town Beatdown. We are going to be at the Beach Town. However, that said, I hope I answered that question well enough, Jim. It's just a matter of fingerprint.
I think cloning is 3 to 5 years away, but it is certainly something that Inside Foos is looking into, and because we have to, we have to.
I don't see why Mark and I couldn't just do the whole thing by ourselves. There you go. We can probably sell tickets.
Clay, that ends up with you and I in an arson lawsuit. Could we set something on fire? That's how that ends up.
It wouldn't be the first lawsuit I've been involved in.
I know.
I'm not afraid. I'm not scared.
Any tournament named, is there a better name? Moneyball's great.
Right.
The Beach Town.
Beatdown.
Right?
Love
Is that awesome or what? And that's going to be in
Lakewood,
Florida. It's going to be in June. It's going to be on the beach. We're going to go to the beach where the weather is like 90 degrees and 90% humidity, and the water is like 95 degrees.
Oh, dude! And I know myself. Let me tell you the best thing about that. I will be dehydrated, perspiring, and drinking margaritas. So I will be absolutely bonkers at that tournament.
And brilliant.
Yes.
Are you paying for the drinks there too, Mark?
I need it for this
match.
Yes.
Between 5 and 7 at the Embassy Suites in Beach Town, wherever the hell this tournament is, I'll be paying for the margaritas at the Embassy Suites between 5 and 7.
No, it's going to be great. Tommy and Dana Brewer do such a great job of promoting foosball in South Florida that, they've asked us to come down. They're excited to have us. We're looking forward to it. There's going to be some different things.
Cool.
We're 100% going to be there in June. I mean,
it's June 23rd. You're right. 23rd. It's in June 23rd to 26th in Lake Worth, Florida. We're promoting this one early, and we're going to do it again. Trust me, when the show comes closer, tournament comes closer, we'll be all over it. But we are there on the beach covering this tournament, and it's going to be bananas.
I am going to be commentating matches with bare feet standing in the shallows of the water. There are no waves.
That could be a good thing
I'm a
or a
Southern
bad
California guy. I like waves, but no waves. But that's okay. I'll be standing in the water commentating matches.
Oh my goodness!
Instead of inside foos, it could be seaside foos. There you go. I'm a
that
genius. I don't know if you guys know that or not. I'm absolutely brilliant.
Wait a second. Now, if you're holding a microphone, and you're standing in the water, isn't that a grounding issue, Clay?
Hey, whatever happens. Hey, if your hair stands on end a little bit, have you ever been electrocuted, Tom? I'm sure you have. But afterwards,
I have.
It's one of my favorite things.
Afterwards, though, you feel really good.
Really good.
And you're charged up. You're ready to go.
What's the next question?
Oh boy.
My wife got this high-end taser, and I did turn that. I took it into the closet and closed the closet door, and I swear to you, if I wasn't married and with kids, I would have been on the floor flopping around like a fish. I pressed the button. I was looking at it like, should I do this? And it just felt wrong. I'm in my 40s. This feels like a dumb decision, but lucked out. God. Lucked out, man. Didn't do it. Didn't do it.
Yeah, man. Good
Tasers
choice.
are underrated. Stun guns are underrated.
The new ones
prods are underrated.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. What's next, Tom? What's next?
Well, okay.
Ask us anything.
Now I got to preface this because I think the answer could be no comment, but I'm just going to put it out there. Okay. Kurt Davis, thank you so much for your probing question. There's been some talk on social media of a former legendary player starting their own foosball association, from what I can tell, trying to bring back the old day style format and talking about huge payouts and more players. Wondering what your thoughts are on this. And we'll accept no comment if you wish.
Okay.
Tony Clifton, where are you?
I'm telling you what, it's a bunch of
again, it's about, what's important to me is the trust of the foosball public, right?
Sure.
You got to kind of prove yourself. Obviously, all year long, there are people trying new things in Wisconsin or down in Florida or in Georgia or even in Texas, California, whatever. People are trying new things, but you kind of have to build a resume. You have to build a successful resume. You have to follow through on your promises. You have to be, what you say you're going to do, you got to do, right? You got to build the trust with the community. And so, that's something that's very important, certainly to me. And I think to most of the foosball community. So
I'll jump in, Jim, and save you. Listen, man, we're representing dozens of people now. We Inside Foos is a we. We're representing dozens of people. And we have a board, and we're a fine group of true professionals. And we are not going to immediately discriminate against anybody who's attempting to do something positive for foosball. We're not going to discriminate against them. That said, to Jim's broader point, as a business person and an experienced business person, and I guess part of personality too, there's a fair level of cynicism when I look at anybody doing anything because, right? Because I don't look at the quality of one person's character, but I look at the quality of the team. These types of endeavors are massive. Even Inside Foos, which is I have not done anything for foosball ever. But Inside Foos is the first brand I did anything for foosball for because it's 28 years of history, 28 years of customers, 28 years of service and support and delivering a product. Anybody else coming in, we're going to scrutinize with critical acumen, including the history, and we're going to want to see the goods before we get anywhere near it. So the answer to the question, which is, what do we think of this? What I think of it is, I need to see it. I was going to say the S word. I need to see a lot more. I need to see a ton more. I need to see the detail. Show me your business plan if you can, or what you can. I'll sign an NDA. Show me your P&L. Show me who's funding you. Show me your table. Show me what you're doing. Until I see that, it's a lot of long messaging on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it from a critically thinking business perspective. We have no critical answer. We have no negative answer. We have a critical answer, but not a negative answer. I have nothing negative to say about it. I just don't have enough information, and that's the answer to that question.
I feel like we should raise an offering after you get on one of those.
We need to have it. Tony Clifton, what does he think? I'm with Tony on this one, I think.
I got to tell you, lots of F-bombs. Tony's not allowed on mic right now. I'll believe it when I see it, man. That's what Tony said.
Okay. Now, I'm going to put an editorial cap on this one just to say, as a co-host of FoosTalk Live, we, of course, want people to succeed. Of course. That's where we stand. That's a given, right? So, yes, and proof of performance is everything. Enough said.
Yeah.
So, there you have it. But so thank you for the question, Kurt. We do appreciate it. And now that's out in the open. We don't have to talk about that again, do we?
But we will.
Not yet. Not yet. Not now.
There may be more.
Cool. Well, here's one more, and this one goes directly for Mark.
Ooh.
This is actually for Mark. What type of show should Mark do on the new Inside Foos? We want to know. What do you think? Jim?
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking me. Shit.
No.
Well, let me ask you real quick.
You.
Mark wants to do a show, right? He wants to have his own personality, wants to be the leader of a show, wants to be the host.
Yes.
Wants to be the Alex Trebek of some sort of show. And it's yet to be determined exactly what that is. And I know he's put it out there and hoping for folks to sort of pipe in and have some ideas for him. But Mark wants a show, and he'd be great at it, of course, no matter what. So I'd love to hear it.
Okay, was it my turn yet, or no?
Well, no, you got to wait for us to chime in. You can finish, but Clay,
I don't have anything. I'm all ears right now. If he's going to do a show, it's going to be it's worth hearing him more than it's worth hearing me right now.
I think it should be Mark Torres Psych Out. That should be the name of the show.
Mark Torres or Psycho.
No. This is Psych Out.
He's the liver.
Because that's what you do in foosball, right? You use your powers of, shall we say, your expertise to psych out the competition.
Well, whatever the show is, it has like a 90-second intro of smoke and pigeons and me coming from the Raptors in a white robe and like lights and like rainbows and maybe a unicorn or maybe a mermaid. I haven't figured. The intro is going to be amazing. All right, here's what interests me. You know what interests me? The psychology of the game. There's Inside Foos. For those who haven't seen or been exposed, has the potential for anyone who wants to create original content. And I don't want to overpromise. We can do this. We want to make sure we have the offering created. We can contract with people who have original content, and they could give us our content. We can monetize it on their behalf. Now, we get all the details need to be worked out. We can execute it today, but we're not ready to until it's fully formed and we can pull it off. That said, what's interesting to me is the psychology of the game. We know there's going to be all kinds of content coming in. New original content, by the way, that looks at the archive and shows people how to do stuff, 5-bar passing, 2-bar shooting, all that stuff, zones, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's going to be interesting to people. That's great. For me, you guys hear me talk about it every single week. Why do certain people win and why do certain people lose? Because it's so, like you heard me say before, there's a certain parity. The top experts, as good as the top experts, the top pros and top masters, there's probably except for the elite masters, there's probably a 5% difference in the skill. There's almost zero difference in the skill. These guys, the pros can all execute a lane pass, all do a wall pass, all do shoot all the holes. They all practice all the stuff. They know the zones. But some people execute when it matters, and some people don't. Some people can't. Some people could play whatever it is to their true stats that Clay knows. They could play 50% on their 5-bar until it's 4-4, and guess what? they're 0 for 5 on the next 5 passes, and they could play whatever 50% on their 3-bar, 40% on the 3-bar, and then they're 10% when it's 4-4. What separates the winners from the losers? And if I could sit down with Todd Lafredo and Johnny Horton and Federico Collignon, which I can, by the way, and Tony Spreedeman, and talk to them and ask them and find out by showing them match clips about when they did and didn't execute and the psychology of winning, that has more value to the top players than any, in my humble opinion, rote regurgitation of how to do a wall pass or how to do a stick pass. That's what's just interesting to me. That's where I may go with my show. The greatest players of all time on my show talking about what winners do.
But will they want to give away their secrets? That's a question. Will they want to give away those secrets?
I have a very cunning and successful track record with people telling me their secrets.
Yeah, and you know what? When people do give away their secrets, so to speak, it actually makes them a better player, right?
Oh,
right.
And so, I love that. I love that idea. One of the things I do when I'm commentating, obviously, I'm looking at the skills themselves. There's a pull shot, there's a lane pass, whatever. But it's how they use them. It's the psychology of the game that is so intriguing to me, obviously to Mark, and I think to the viewing public as well. It's getting inside the game. And that's really what Inside Foos is hoping to do moving forward. Obviously, across the board, we have all these different projects that we're executing. But it's the psychology of the game, like Mark says. It's the inside game. It's the why can this guy be successful at 4-4 when others can't? What is it that separates them from the common player? And it's a topic, excuse me, that seems to keep coming up. This is really what wins and loses game. Like Mark said, maybe a 5% difference. Some of the greatest players we've seen physically are pros or novice players, and they can do it for a match. But can they do it for a whole tournament? Can they do it under pressure, et cetera? Right. I love the idea, Mark.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well,
I have a show idea for you, Mark.
Oh, here we go.
Did he lose him? Did he leave him?
Oh, no, we're going to tell me.
I have the title first, and then I'll explain it as we go. It's called The Third Timeout. And you talk about all the different matches where like stupid rules cost people like their whole match or
cool.
And the reason I thought about this is earlier you were talking about the Tom Your timeout, right? You get scored on twice, you call a timeout, no matter where you are, no matter what the situation is, right? That's the Tom Your timeout.
Yeah,
you were talking about Tom Your earlier. The only time I've played with Tom was in a DYP in Colorado. It was Meatball in the third game, best 2 out of 3. Tom got it on his 3-bar, shoot for the win. And called a timeout, which would normally be a good play, except we didn't have any timeouts. You already taken 2 that game.
Yeah.
Oops. And that was against Philbrook, and Philbrook got it back and passed it and scored. We lost.
That is so characteristic of Tom York.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Wow. Title is Third Timeout.
I like it.
Quick story here about that since you brought it up. I'm working a P4P event about 5 years ago, right? P4P Worlds, whatever it was. Great Swiss player named Christian Sula. I mean, after Frederic Collignon, maybe he was the second best forward in Europe at the time, right? So I'm commentating a match, right? Big match on table number 1, semifinal, whatever. And he calls 3 timeouts, right? Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? I called 3 timeouts. Oh my gosh. He ends up winning that game anyway. Next game comes, and he calls 2 timeouts early. I mean, this guy called timeouts like Fred or like Tony or like these guys. Calls 2 timeouts, and I say to the audience, I say, last game he called 3 timeouts. He's got 2 here. There's no way he's going to call another one. Sure enough, he gets the ball on his 3-rod and calls a 3rd timeout. 2 games in a row, the guy calls 3 timeouts. Now, top that.
Yeah, that's
love
it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is just proving the idea that this is worth looking at. This is a fun conversation to listen.
I think it's big.
Jim has way more stories about this than I do.
Great feature for FoosTalk Live. The 3rd time out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Top 5 brain farts.
But doesn't that plays right into the psychology? Like you got to have composure in that moment. That's why Federico always he did it. Okay, Federico did all this stuff out of like a obsessive compulsive disorder. If you watch him, he flips his hair all the time. He does his thing. You see all his trippy ticks. But one of them was he always marked his timeouts. I'm not sure how often he called a 3rd timeout, but he was he was obsessive about it probably for that reason.
And we have a guest who wants to chime in. Mike, thanks for joining FoosTalk Live. Welcome back, Mike Green.
Yes, sir. What's happening?
What's that, Mike? How you doing, brother?
Love you, brother.
Great show, man. Congratulations on all of the things you got going on. It's awesome.
Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I got to tell you my Johnny Horton timeout story.
All right, go for it, dude.
Pit table. There's like 400 people standing there, and they got me reffing and Zoller reffing.
Oh my
and
God!
Important. It's 4-4. Meatball. The guy's sweating. He can't even swallow. He scores, and he goes, time. But that was his third timeout, and he goes, take your time. He called himself right in the flow. So I said, Zoller, you got to call this one, bro. Zoller said, oh, man. He needed to take his time. I think it was like Charles Britt, his worst enemy. You ain't ever seen a trash-talking match unless you've seen Horton play Charles Britt. It's the best.
No kidding.
And Charles is doing backflips. The people from Dallas are coming after us, But anyway, it was just funny.
Take your time.
Hey, man, while you're there, what'd you think of our top fives? Who was missing?
Who was missing?
No, I said who was missing from our top fives? You're a Florida guy. Who do you think we should have had in our top fives?
Hey, man, it's your show. They can be anybody you want.
All right, good. That's
I'll
the right
translate
answer,
that. That's the translation that means I have no idea. I wasn't listening.
Actually, no, I do. My top five, I mean, I would have went a totally different route. Like you said, guys say it's my opinion, so I can say it like I want. Like my top five would have been, number 5 would have been Chesborough.
Yeah.
My number 4 would have been.
I know he's from Florida, dude. I didn't know he was from Florida. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like Jim said. I mean, he's actually from Washington. Well, he's actually from Tampa originally. But anyway, most of his wins were in Florida. And then Paul Reynolds, who nobody remembers because he's a little annoying and people get mad at him. But the guy.
You think he's from Ohio. I think, for the most.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm going along your lines because, Ronnie Levois is from St. Louis. So that's okay.
Right.
But, no, Reynolds lived in Tampa forever. When he was playing really hot on TS, and the guy played some of the biggest matches in foosball history. Unfortunately, he keeps telling everybody about it. And then I'd put Tom Yore at number 3.
Yeah, okay.
Because Tom Yore, man, people just forget. I mean, that dude is not the most skilled individual to ever play the game. He is just one hard-working dude. He just never quits.
Yeah.
And then I put Diaz. Because being a goalie, and I know Jim was a goalie, so I'm kind of surprised. Ain't no fun blocking on a tornado, so I give Diaz all the credit I can. And then Horton, he's got to be number 1, just because he's a legend, put Florida on the map, one of those guys. But the funny part about it is, me and Tom have been, have been having text wars ever since it started. And,
it's hilarious.
Yeah. And the funny part about it is the guy that was probably the best player ever out of Florida that nobody ever heard of, and maybe Jim, is Scott Rogers. Shot a push kick.
Yeah.
Guy freaking hit 3 different angles from one spot, 3 different dinks.
Super talented.
Long you couldn't see. And I remember, Jim remembers Brian Stabler, we used to call him Cookie. Came, so there's about 10 masters at a tournament one night, and they said, who's the best player here? And Cookie says, I don't know. But I know Scott Rogers wins every tournament in Florida. So that was one heck of a player, man. But anyway, I didn't want to take your whole night up. I just wanted to call in and tell you the Horton timeout story. It's one of the good
awesome.
All right, guys.
Easter, brother. Have a good rest of your Easter Sunday, sir. Thanks for coming in.
InsideFoos.com as well. Thanks for the very, very nice text you've sent me, and I'm glad you're enjoying the new Inside Foos 2.0.
Well, no, I'll tell you. Let me tell you what I said. I don't mind. I'm not bashful. So I told Jim that he had the most amazing collection of matches I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but my game improved in about 4 hours just watching these guys play, and the little things. It's always those little things that make you the winner, and they look so simple.
Yeah.
And man, I'm just watching these guys going, that's how you do it, And you were talking about winners or losers. I mean, honestly, I've seen thousands of guys that were just as good as anybody, couldn't get there. And you could see in their eyes that meatball.
Yeah.
Like Bob Maloney says, we're all going to meatball. We got to see who puts it in.
Right.
And it's just that point. It's 1 point wins the match. And, man, a lot of guys can't do it. That's all. So
yeah, isn't that
Closers.
something? Yeah. From my point of view, of course, I've seen it for now 30 years or more, where I've seen who can win and who can't. And it's a very select number who is able to close out those matches and really elevate their games once it gets to 4.
Yeah. Or, elevating the game is one thing, but staying consistent is the other. If you could just stay consistent, like some of these masters play lights out until it gets tight. And all you had to do is keep playing at the same level. You didn't even need to raise the guys that could raise their game against someone who's raising their game. That's a whole other level of foosball. And I could talk about this guy now because he did get over the hump. He's my dear friend, and he was in 9 finals and lost every final. And my dear friend, Trevor Park, is the epitome of not being able to close the deal. Not to exclude my other great friend, Fernando, who still he couldn't close the deal. But I'm telling you, the difference is between the ears. All the super duper talents, lateral speed, power, all of it. Yeah. And the difference is between the ears. Yep. Held Trevor back for many, many years, and he got past it. And I think there's something there, man. There's something there, and you just got to figure out the chemistry.
Yeah, the difference is Freeman's not going to think about it. He's going to score. These guys think about it. They overthink it. They don't score.
Right.
It's funny because I'll tell you a quick story about your other buddy there, the guy from what the heck's his name, Cartwright. I'm watching the 2005 World Championships last night where him and Tom won. The guy should have lost that match. He made the biggest mistake I've ever seen. They're beating them down, and then he starts arguing with Diaz. Never break up the game, man. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I didn't even know who won. And I'm like, Diaz is going to win this match, or something better happen here quick.
Awesome.
Next thing you know, Tom calls the timeout. He's looking confused. I'm thinking, man, you're beating on somebody, put them away. Just walk away.
Right.
All right, guys.
That is so true. Hey, Mike, looking forward to hitting your way in June, buddy. We'll be down there. Let's make sure we get together and have a beer or so. IPA, of course. But
I'm going to come to Texas and do some play-by-play for you guys.
Beat down.
Texas, too, of course.
I'll see you in Texas. I'll do a little play-by-play.
I love it.
Cool. Come in the booth, hang out. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be awesome.
All right, guys. Good
Cheers, man.
Take care, Mike. Happy Easter.
Okay. Bye.
Hey, Tom Robinson, before we get to time, one of our great fans, Reese Roberts, has a question earlier in the chat.
Okay.
And you want to, I'll ask, this is a question that I can't answer. From Reese Roberts, the U.S. men's team has won the ITSF World Cup many times, but an American has only won the ITSF men's singles once. Why do you think that is?
Ooh.
Gosh, that's a great point. That is a great point. I'm not sure there's an answer to that. The only guy that has won it was Ryan Moore. I believe 2010 was the only time. Tony Spreiteman's been the favorite several times. Ryan Moore, of course. I think for my answer, and I'll get to yours here as well, Mark, but I think it's just the unpredictability of playing those other tables. You're playing against guys who are super strong on their home table.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to be able to at least make a dent, at least compete with them on their home table a little bit. It isn't enough to just get a goal or, against them. You've got to be able to compete with them on the other tables. And maybe that's something, where the Americans have come a little bit short. Guys like Yanni Correa and Kevin Hoonstorfer have won multiple, and Frederick Collignon have won multiple world championships, multi-table. But Tony's never won one. Tony Spreiteman has never won one. Is he going to win one? I think so. Is Tommy York going to win one? I think so. Ryan Moore is going to win another one potentially if he puts it, if he wants to, if he puts his full energies into it. But I think it has to do with the fact that maybe they aren't as strong on those other tables as some of the Europeans are.
Right.
Yeah, I think what reminds me of. I think it was Pete Sampras. I'm not sure, but there was guys out on the tennis tour, and Davis Cup wasn't big on their list. And I just don't know if I could be reading into things, but the U.S. men's team definitely goes out there to win the team men's World Cup. I don't know, and it's just not to take anything away from the Europeans. It's probably as likely that the Europeans want to win that so bad, want to win that singles so bad that they play harder and they execute more and they outplay them. They rise. I mean, think about Thomas Haas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Twan Hermans. These guys rise above it all and play. Thomas plays the match of his life and wins that. But there might also be a secondary element that is, how hard are these guys working to win that? Now, it may come to pass that Tony's like, I want this. I got to win one of these, and we'll see him win it. And the same may be said for, I don't know, Tommy if I was betting, I'd bet Tony or Tommy or would win one very soon, like within the next 6 years. But not to take anything away from the people that have won, who have rose to the occasion. And it's possible the Americans have not rose to the occasion. It's also possible that it was not the top. Maybe it wasn't top of mind as they're really stressed toward winning the team doubles event.
Yeah, that's a great point, because they put so much into winning for Team USA, and it's resulted in 6 wins in 10 World Cups. And I think there's something to what you say for sure. And yet they're still trying to win. They still want to, but they're so invested in that team, and winning for Team USA. So great point, Mark Torres.
Absolutely. And thanks for the question, Reese. We greatly appreciate that. Well, guys, I know, Mark, you want to skip out because it's Easter Sunday. So let's talk about next week briefly. Next week, of course, is our first year anniversary. And we do appreciate the support we've been receiving over this last year. I mean, it was a rough start, but we have evolved, shall we say. And we're wondering, if you've got things you'd like to ask us next week. Of course, you can always reserve for next week. But in the meantime, we're looking forward to a special night, 1 week from tonight, our first anniversary. And
I want to go ahead, Jim. Oh yeah, let me go. Then you can close out, Jim. I want to make a quick pitch again for our Kickstarter, and I will tell everybody here that the word is out. If you're on the Inside Foos TV page or the Inside Foos public page, or you're seeing our marketing and our press, Inside Foos is now a global team embedded across now 4 continents, a team that is working hard together to change the way foosball is presented and the way the entertainment of foosball is delivered, so that we can grow the sport and grow and get sponsors. And we're doing it in the middle. And I tried to speak to this before, but we are behind anybody who wants to do good things for foosball.
Yes.
We support every table, every country, every promoter, every player. We have no inherent competitor that way, because we want to help everybody succeed. And if you believe in that, and you believe in the future of foosball, you'll go to our Kickstarter. Go to Kickstarter, look at InsideFoos.com, and if you have a couple bucks you want to pledge toward this, we want to use that money to upgrade our equipment, because you heard we're going to start covering live tournaments. And we could use that money for day-to-day expenses. And we're a bunch of volunteers. None of us have any plan or intention to get paid. We're doing this for the love of foosball for now. And we could really use your support as a community. So get behind our Kickstarter, check it out. And we'd appreciate you donating to the cause. We're going to be in your country, whether you like it or not, to give the best product possible. Jim, please take it over.
It really is. It's really an international effort. And, it's great to have, for someone who has worked so long, really being a one-man band, it's great to be surrounded by, more than 40 individuals now, all pulling on the same end of the rope. And, and one of the things too, Mark, I've always wondered how Frederick Collignon kept his white pants up without them, and so apparently there is, if you pledge at a reasonably high level, I suppose, you can get a belt, a Frederick Collignon belt.
Love that.
Yeah. So let me talk about this. There are 5 World Championship Federico Collignon belts. There are only 5 in existence. They're serialized, and Federico is providing the provenance. He's going to take pictures and sign a certification on the belt, and these belts are available on our Kickstarter. So check out that Federico belt. It is awesome. Wicked is a collector's dream. We also have on there Steve Murray's World Championship Open Singles ring as a reward. His 89 World Championship Open Singles ring. We have the very first Masters jacket, the green jacket from the 1988 Masters. We have 3 of Trevor Park's championship jackets, and I think we have 1 item left of Tony Spreedeman's left.
Okay.
So there's some amazing no foosball. Go ahead.
Get a match commentated as well.
Yep, right.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So looking forward to next week, our 50th show. How about that? That is some stick-to-itiveness for sure. Garrett Schirkenbach's going to join us to talk about his career and, of course, about that 2004 Hall of Fame Classic where he and Moya Thielens won the mixed doubles championship, with Moya playing every ball at the forward position.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that next week. Cindy Head in 2 weeks. And again, Moneyball will be there in 4 weeks, April 29th through May 2nd. Make it if you can. If you can't, watch us live at InsideFoos.com, the Embassy Suites Hotel in Portland, Oregon. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to working some matches with Mark Torres. We have a lot of fun on here, but really nothing better than working an actual foosball match with Mark Torres.
You think I'm crazy now? Oh, just wait.
Look out.
It gets ugly in a good way.
Yes.
So Clay or
In a good
Tony, or Clay, anything you'd like to add to as a parting shot here this evening?
I'm so hungry. I just realized I haven't eaten today.
You haven't eaten today.
I haven't eaten today.
As in this 24-hour period, you've not eaten yet.
Well, okay. So
Mark hasn't.
I haven't. I wake up at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon because I work nights. So I have. To me, it's like almost lunchtime. I didn't have breakfast, and I haven't had lunch yet. And I can't wait for Texas State.
I want everyone. Yeah, Texas State. Let's not forget about that. Of course, Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, is that going to be a great tournament.
Some surprises.
There's going to be a grudge match.
Yeah.
The grudge match of the weekend is going to be the 4 of us. I don't know if you guys realize that yet. Mark and Jim.
Bro, you better start practicing. You're going to be collateral damage.
No, we're good. We can not touch a table between now and then, and we'll be fine. We need to figure out what we're going to win when we beat y'all. We need to come to terms on that.
Right. Got to discuss.
I even think Tom Robinson's going to be going to be there for that one. If I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
That's my partner. That's my goalie.
Whole team there. That's going to be so exciting.
Check this out, guys. We're going to have 3 live streams available to us, and we can live stream that match, and we can put people up in the booth to talk about it, and we can drive to that. So you guys want to go down? You guys want to go down swinging at each other? Let's go.
All right.
Bring it on.
I will bring my piggy bank and bust it open right there on table 1 and play for everything inside of it.
Dude, if I have a couple drinks in me, I start throwing random roundhouse kicks. So just be aware.
That's my whole game. That's a normal game for me.
He's coming over the table after you.
Prison rules, man.
Table 1. Be there, people. Be there.
It's going to be a blast.
Absolutely. Visit InsideFoos.com, folks, for more than 500 matches and more to come. Every week, we're going to be uploading new matches from the Inside Foos collection. Of course, the original programming starting this Tuesday with On the Table with Chase Pennell.
Yes.
With Tony Spredeman as his special guest this Tuesday at InsideFoos.com.
And once again, our thanks to Don and Kopiy from the Moneyball Tournament. And we're looking forward to seeing them in Portland, Oregon. And thank you for listening in to the 50th episode of FoosTalk Live. Next week, our first anniversary. You better be here. FoosTalk Live is a product of Foosball Radio and Inside Foos TV. All rights reserved. Our sincere thanks to 518 Prince, Foosball Clubs USA, Foosballers the Movie, and the United States Table Soccer Organization. Join us next Sunday for another episode of FoosTalk Live. In the meantime,
We'll see you foozing.